Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Metaworld News. This week we have the highlights for the week ending the 10th of September 2017. We're in the last quarter of the year. Well, no, we're not, but we nearly are. It feels like we're in winter
Nearly.
already, but never mind,
Agreed.
never
Yeah.
mind. Well, that's in the UK. I gather it's different in the top of North America, but I don't know what it feels like down in the southern half. Very windy, but um, sad to say.
Indeed.
We are actually broadcasting this week from our own grid, as opposed to the Great Canada grid. And the Great Canada grid, I believe, is about to come up again, having done some extensive backups very shortly, if it's not up already. But I have been warned that it could come down again at any point in time because the servers for the Great Canadian grid are in hurricane territory, and therefore if there is any danger of anything happening, they will bring them down again. So for this week at least, we're in our secondary studio here, which explains why it doesn't look quite the same as the other one, but never mind, it looks different, and difference is always good. Anyway, on to the news. I have a Twitter account at twitter.com/Malburns. That's MALBURNS. We also have a Twitter account for this show at twitter.com/Metaworld News, all one word. And I'm going to be picking some of the highlights from both of those feeds to bring to you. If you miss the links I give you or they're not clear, just go to one of those feeds, or both of them, in fact, to pick up on the direct links to the things I mentioned. So, as I say, let's get on with it. Starting, yes, 6 days ago, I guess. Post at medium.com. The 3D web is an extension of the existing web into three-dimensional web spheres. This is a writer, as there are many writers indeed, at medium.com, sort of explaining what the 3D web is. He's not specifically talking about web VR or the worlds on a web, or indeed about VR as such. He's basically explaining how the third dimension of interfacing could extend the existing web as we've known it, and he's drawn up some nice little diagrams that, just like the diagrams that your scientist relative draws in his book when he's in his study. It's nice. It's nice. Anyway, you'll find that at medium.com. Another site, Immerse News. This is IMMERSE.news. And they've got an article which is really a question. Who is VR for? And they've been interviewing various makers, artists, builders and stuff like that to see if they can figure out who VR is for. And now, of course, VR includes, technology and stuff like that many people won't want to adopt. But VR, is, in terms of spaces, is, in my opinion, for everybody and anybody. There is something there for everybody. But I think they're focusing slightly more on the hardware, so helmet type, the toys for interfacing with, basically, that enhance your VR experience. Blog.jauntVR.com. That's JAUNTVR. Jaunt VR, all one word. It says blog.jauntVR.com. And another question. I love blogs that start with questions. What's the best thing about VR? Answer: knowing nothing. This is quite interesting. It's an interview with director Adam Cosco and Vincent Edwards from Inworld Studios, and they're discussing a VR film and why making boring VR isn't fun. And they kind of like approaching it on the basis that, well, it's new, they know nothing, we'll find out, we'll do things that haven't been done before, etc., etc. Okay, next post, web VR, taking the path of least resistance to mainstream VR. This is a post at VRScout, or one word, .com. And basically they started off by saying, while we were distracted by VR hype cycles and the when will VR go mainstream debate, the understated and overlooked web VR snuck up on us. And they take it from there, basically updating us on what's possible with web VR these days. The road to VR.com, oh sorry, actually it's road to VR, or one word.com, have a post, how VR, AR and AI can change education forever. And this is part of a series. This is part 1, Today's Problems. And I think that's self-explanatory, really. So you can find that at roadtovr.com. Here's one. I can't see a link for it. Indeed. Okay. Well, the actual full link is on my feed, but this is Singularity Hub. It's a website as part of the Singularity University, I believe. VR promises a Sorry, I will start again and try to stop slurring on you. VR promises a surprising tech alternative to painkillers in deadly opioid crisis. This is actually looking at the ways VR can be a sort of natural, well, if you can call electronic worlds natural, a natural alternative to things like painkillers for various things. Voicesofvr.com. This is publishes several podcasts a week here, and they had number 576 a couple of days ago. Blending immersive theatre and VR with Draw Me Close by NFB and the National Theatre. And basically, the National Theatre has created an immersive storytelling studio to better understand practices, protocols, and opportunities of how virtual and augmented reality technologies are blah, blah, blah. And that is an audio podcast, though there is a little bit of a summary in text on the site too if you need it. Right, uploadvr.com. Step Inside Music lets you see how your favorite songs are constructed. Many people think VR is simply about visual immersion, and of course it is, but sound in VR is actually very important, to the extent that you can actually consider VR to be a sound experience. Just as you could call this show, this news headlines, a television show, it's also a radio show because you don't have to look at the pictures. And this post at uploadvr.com is about something called Song Exploder, and the idea is you put yourself in an immersive space in the middle of music, and you can move around within the construct of the music. Which basically it puts 3 dimensions into sound. Basically, no, it's not just surround sound; it's proximity based kind of music. So interesting stuff there. I'm always keen on that stuff. Okay, uploadvr.com again. In fact, same day, 2 days ago, they had an editorial called "Commercial Use Cases Will Help Make VR Mainstream." They're actually looking at some of the use of VR in commerce and out-of-home VR and in commercial applications. VR and all the hardware technology interfacing that goes with it is sort of taking off in a way that I'm sure some of the dreamers wish the consumer market would. And of course, if it becomes popular out of the home and the prices come down, eventually, like everything else, it will be in our homes. But anyway, they're actually looking at how the commercial use at the moment could help make VR mainstream in the long run. Right, a British paper here, or it's more of a magazine actually, but it's a registered newspaper called newstatesman.com. That's newstatesman.com. New Statesman all being one word. Basically, they have an article, Meet the Artists Using Virtual Reality as Their Canvas. This is very mainstream, sort of good magazine, this. And, they're basically done a whole feature article looking at various artists who are actually using virtual reality as their canvas. And this is, there's 2 ways of viewing this. You can actually think people going to virtual worlds to create art, Or the other reference here is that people are using spaces in their helmet, or, headset things, and they're actually using the tools, the gesture tools and stuff from the hardware to do things like sculptures and stuff. So in some cases, artists are using the what you might call the Inworld VR tools and hardware. In other cases, artists, of course, are simply going in world like anybody else and using the facilities in there to create art. Right, moving on. 925 Google. Yes, that's the number 9, TO, number 5, and then something called Google. Yeah, 95 Google, all one word. Google Daydream adds new VR lessons and developer tools, including a performance heads-up display, HUD. This basically Google's idea of something that's a bit better than cardboard but not quite up to HTC Vive kind of thing. They're improving the Daydream platform, and of course for those of you who don't know, Google Daydream basically is powered by Android by and large. It's on phones and other mobile devices rather than on the desktop. Right, virtual reality-news.net. UNICEF, this is the United Nations Children's Fund, I think it is. Yes, UNICEF, yes it is. UNICEF are looking to make AR and VR work for everybody. The UNICEF Innovation Fund has announced that it's seeking applications from AR, VR startups to submit their ideas for harnessing the technology for the greater good. International effort there, being United Nations based, and you find the post more about it at virtuality-news.net. Virtuality-news, by the way, is all one. There's spaces in that bit of it. Right, flip the page. No, I don't believe it. We're at the end. We've done it. Right, I'm now moving to the Metaworld feed, which is probably doesn't have it. It does, yeah. hgsafari.blogspot.com, a post from November on this week's Hypergrid Safari. Safari breaks the code, looking at the Nefa Leaf region that they visited. It was the first of a new set of safaris that were quite heavily advertised after their 2-month break, and there were far more avatars there that could get into any of the regions they were meant to visit. So the advertising was successful, but crash ahoy. Anyway, both Ursa and Roland from Nefa Leaf will be with us on this channel on Inworld Review coming up on the hour, so stay with us for that. Post from hypergridbusiness.com. This is Maria's colleague David posting. Second Life's cloud move could lower land prices. And they're all saying, look at the London City region in Second Life. Don't know what that's got to do with the hypergrid, but never mind. Second Life and the hypergrid are rather different things, but never mind, go figure. There was an additional post from Thursday by way of HG Safari Blogspot Co UK just about the Safari restarts, and you're welcome to a new season and a few sort of notes that went with it. And actually that seems to be it in the in that stream. And I'm just going to quickly check out posts here from Google Plus, but nothing particular there. There is a link actually to Nefa Leaf. We'll probably mention it on the other show later. Grid.vbel.eu. VBEL is spelled VIBEL. 12th century Earth-like time frame in a science fiction context, and much more besides, I can assure you. VBEL actually, VI is virtual and BL is for Belgium. It is a Belgian grid. So I figured that one out. They didn't tell me. It's so obvious. I've got to be right. They didn't tell me. Right. Okay, well, that's it for a fairly quick roundup there this week. But as ever, I've got James here. When I last turned to look at James, he was actually wearing a headset, which means I guess he's monitoring all the cameras in his VL helmet. But he's taken it off now, presumably so we can see his mouth while he gives us well, I know you couldn't make developer meet this week, but anything interesting on your front?
Oh, thanks, Mel. Yeah, the VR headset I find in a way it gets in the way of switching cameras, so I had to take that off. um,
You've
uh,
got a lovely switching device right
I
in front
do,
of
I
you
do. In
there.
fact, yeah, that's
Yes.
wonderful, and have the monitors. The studio stage is looking quite lovely. So it's really nice improvement.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
goodness.
So yeah, I did. I was not able to attend the developers' office hours on Tuesday. I had a very busy uh, activities with another thing called work. But I did go review the notes, and it looked like a not as an intense meeting as the previous week. I think attendance was a little bit lower, and yet still some interesting discussions. Robert, and I'm sorry, I'm spacing on his avatar's last name, but the person who does Bullet Sim had announced
Oh
some
yeah.
updates to Bullet Sim and some improvements, and so that might be something for people who use that physics engine to dig into and see what the updates are there. A little bit of discussion about, and it was a little confusing to me about freezing avatars, and it was hard for me to tell from the notes if this was really about um, avatars being frozen unintentionally, or if it's something like a ejecting from land type of thing, freezing an avatar.
Ah, yeah.
But there was quite a bit of discussion about that, and then really the remainder of the discussion had to do with IP protocols, and you know nothing too terribly deep. So there are a few things to refer in there, but otherwise, great to see the developers continuing to push and put their effort into this project, which we all appreciate very much. And that would be it for me,
Great.
sir.
Great. I suspect I come across that freezing avatars from time to time, and I think they're probably referring to. It's never really bothered me because it doesn't happen that often, but I get the impression that just sometimes when you teleport or move to a different position in a very heavy sim, your avatar freezes slightly whilst it's recaching and reloading the
Maybe so.
new surroundings. But yeah, but it could be something else we were talking about. But I find it happens now and again, but it's no real sweat. You just wait a couple of minutes. The less you do, the quicker it clicks up. Basically, it clears up. Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's very good. So that's our roundup for this week. As I said, those links are all for the week that's just ended today on September 10th. We will be back, of course, same time next week with a further update. And as I've already mentioned, if you're watching us live, do stay tuned to the live channel because we have this week's Inworld review coming up on the hour, which is about 35 minutes from now, according to my clock, if it's correct. And I think it is. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the news. Hope you have a very good week. And we especially wish you all the best if you're stuck in that sort of rather volatile, windy part of the USA at the moment. But apart from that, I think that is it for this week. So goodbye for now.